probably giving Ambessa Victory Dance was a mistake. Silco and Glasgow cannot be allowed to exist in the same tier at the same time. They would be way, way too warping. So Jinx, she picks up a rocket, she looks at the Smogon Council, she sees Finchinator up there, standing there, Landorus and Big Stall looking over his shoulder, and she fires. Can Caitlyn survive a Sucker Punch from King Gambit? And can Vi kill a Great Tusk with her close combat? Does Ekko's signature move, Rewind Time, need to be banned immediately? Or is it no more than an unreliable gimmick? How did Finchinator really survive the super mega death rocket that Jinx fired at the OU Tiering Council? Here, I'll be ranking 14 beloved characters from Netflix's ARCANE in terms of their viability in the Pokémon single battle format overused. Some will be unviable losers, some will be metagame staples, and the most powerful of all may need to be banned to Ubers for the safety of all Runeterra. Join me as we set out to answer the question, which ARCANE character is best in a Pokémon battle?
Punch first. Ask questions while punching.
Starting off with a strong 1-2 punch and a following sky uppercut, we have Vi. She is a fighting steel type, so think Lucario, and she has really high physical attack, good physical bulk, poor special bulk, special attack, moderate speed. Her abilities are Iron Fist and No Guard. Both are pretty good. I think she probably wants Iron Fist because she learns all the punching moves. Let's compare Vi to a couple of other Pokemon which we know are similar in role and stats and move pool. The first is Melmetal. You can see that Melmetal is stronger than Vi in every stat except for speed. They are strong wall breakers. You give them a choice band, you click double iron bash, and you double iron bash down the doors to the opponent's castle. Vi, and in fact all of the other protagonist characters, have a BST of 550. 550 is good. It's better than a starter Pokemon. It's the kind of base stats you'll find on the really, really strong, but not legendary, not pseudo-legendary Pokemon. But it can't compete with Melmetal in terms of stats. But it doesn't need to, because Melmetal didn't get in through the border. Melmetal is banned, exiled from Paldea. It doesn't exist in Gen 9. If it did, I think it would be really good. It's really good in Gen 8. It might even be banned in Gen 8. I think maybe it's banned. But it was really strong. It was a choice band breaker. It just shattered stall teams. Vi can probably do the same thing. The speed is good. Lack of bulk kind of sucks. But if Melmetal can do it, I think Vi can do it. And I think do it well. Here's the thing though. When you compare Vi to Great Tusk, they are nearly identical. Great Tusk has quite a lot more physical bulk. 25 more HP, 21 more defense. It's slightly weaker, but not by much. And it's faster by 2 base speed, which seems really, really minor, right? 2 base speed, when is that going to matter? Well, it will matter in the matchup between Vi and Great Tusk, because Great Tusk is the #1 most used Pokemon in OU. It's really, really versatile in a way that Vi isn't. Vi is kind of a punch, punch, punch. That's all I do, but I punch things really hard. And she dies to Great Tusk. If Vi wants to hit Great Tusk super effectively, she can run Ice Punch, which is fine, but it's not going to cut the mustard when Great Tusk can hit her with a stab headlong rush or a stab close combat. It's not good for the Piltover Enforcer. Moreover, because most teams want to have a Great Tusk, do they really want a Vi as well? Like, they have such overlapping roles, except Great Tusk has Vi's roles and then way more, and then all the hazard stuff, and then the sweeping stuff. In terms of matchups, she's really good into the dark types in the tier, and there are quite a few dark types. She beats Darkrai and she beats King Gambit, but then Great Tusk beats King Gambit. Vi beats Slowking Galar, her double iron bash will one-shot it, but Great Tusk beats Slowking Galar because its Earthquake will one-shot it. So again, there's just so much overlap between these two Pokemon. On the downside, while she loses to fire types, like Cinderace, which Great Tusk doesn't lose to, she loses to physical walls like Corviknight and Alomomola, just can't break through them, and then Vi really loses to other fighting types. So Great Tusk, but also Zamazenta. Zamazenta is just a nightmare for her. It gets that defense boost, so it just body presses her and kills her. I think that the OU metagame is maybe more unfavorable to Vi than she deserves. And so, I have my decision. I'm ready to go to the tier list and lock in how I would rate Vi in Pokemon Gen 9 OU. See you there. Here is the tier list. What I've done is placed in each tier a couple of Pokemon that I think represent the strength of that tier. Where does Vi sit amongst these Pokemon? From the bad Pokemon that have no niche in F rank, to the pretty good Pokemon up in B that are good, you're happy to have them on your team, they'll do something, but they're not breaking the meta, to the A and S rank Pokemon, which are really, really common and really powerful and staples and core to the meta, and then the Ubers Pokemon that are banned from OU. Amidst this range, where do I put Vi? Specifically what she does. She breaks Stall. And breaking Stall is good, but it's not enough by itself, I think, especially with Great Tusk in the tier. So I want to put Vi down in B tier with Corviknight and Rotom Wash. I think she's good, but not phenomenal. Maybe she'd be UU by usage because Tusk would push her usage down. Do you think Vi is F rank and garbage? Do you think Vi needs to be banned to Ubers? Post down below. Like and subscribe too if you want to. I post content about Pokemon and also Parasitoid Wasp. But if you don't want to subscribe, that's all good too. Don't worry about it.
Rules are made to be broken, like buildings. Or people.
The second Pokemon I have today is Jinx, the other part of the dynamic duo of sisters. She is a mixed attacker. She's really fast, 140 will outspeed most of the metagame. And she has good special attack and okay attack, and then she's very, very frail. It's not the most inspiring stat spread. Being a mixed attacker in general is a bit annoying, because you're investing your BST into 2 attacking stats you usually don't want. Both. The closest comparison is Jolteon. Jolteon is 10 speed slower, but they have the same niche and about the same bulk. The other thing, as I said, to compare Jinx to is Dragapult, because Dragapult is kind of the premier, fast, mixed attacking guy in OU. And Dragapult has 50 extra BST over Jinx. So from stats and typing alone, maybe we're not thrilled, but moves and abilities is where Jinx shines. Her abilities are Mega Launcher and then hidden ability Technician. Jinx likes both of these because she has not 1, not 2, but 3 signature attacks, which is the most of any Pokemon we're going to be talking about today. Jinx, just like in the show, always has a gadget, always has a special tool for the occasion. So, those moves are Zap, Flame Chompers, and Death Rocket. I'll go through them one by one. Flame Chompers is 60 base power, 90 accuracy. It has a 30% flinch chance, so think Bite, Iron Head, Dark Pulse, and a 10% chance to burn. It's very, very close to Fire Fang. You might look at this and you think, well, hang on. Fire Fang looks kind of better. I guess you lose 20% flinch chance, but you get more BP, you get more accuracy. Like, this is like backwards power creep. Jinx is getting worse Fire Fang. But no, the devil is in the details. It turns out that in Pokemon, being a 60 base power move is usually better than being a 65 base power move because of Technician. With Technician, Flame Chompers becomes a 90 base power move, and that's a lot more reasonable. Moreover, Flame Chompers, and in fact all of Jinx's signature moves, are boosted by Mega Launcher. So whichever ability Jinx chooses, Flame Chompers will be a 90 base power move. And with that speed stat, the 30% flinch chance is pretty brutal, because Jinx will usually be outspeeding, and it can just steal games. If you guys remember Chi-Yu, back when that was legal, or Darkrai now, they just click Dark Pulse. You'd end up in these situations a lot where you're in a losing matchup, and you don't one-shot them, but you two-shot them, so you're just clicking these Dark Pulses and trying to flinch. And sometimes you get it, and sometimes you just steal a game because you get the flinch. It's going to be annoying. The 90 accuracy is annoying too. Jinx doesn't make the most reliable technology, rest in peace, Vander. Zap is just the same as Flame Chompers, but electric type. So I think Thunder Fang, again boosted by both abilities. I think Zap's fine. It's going to be annoying, but it's fine. And finally, Death Rocket. Death Rocket is crazy. This is as strong as old Draco Meteor. So Draco Meteor used to be 140 base power and 90 accuracy, but they nerfed it to 130 because it was too strong. This is still 140. It does have the mild downside of fainting the user if the move fails to connect. It's very similar to high jump kick, but instead of losing half your health, you lose all of your health. Now, is it relevant? It's hard to say, because oftentimes with high jump kick, when you miss, you may as well die. It feels like it's rare that I miss a high jump kick and walk away with my Pokemon alive. But it does happen sometimes. If you protect Death Rocket, Jinx also just explodes herself, which is unfortunate for her. This move is kind of hard to evaluate. I think it's really good. I do think it's really good. But it's not stab, but she can Terra Dark. I don't know. Beyond her signature moves, Jinx has a very expansive moveset. She's got Trick and Nasty Plot, so she's really good with choice items. She has Encore, she has Taunt, she has Volt Switch. She can do a lot. Matchup-wise, Jinx does pretty well. She's a great wall breaker with her amazing coverage and Death Rocket's crazy base power. Downside is anything that can outspeed her can kill her. Iron Moth and Iron Valiant can boost her energy, their speed, to outspeed her and kill her. She could run a Choice Scarf, but she doesn't really want Choice Scarf. She wants Choice Specs. Like Dragapult, she kind of needs the power boost, because 110 base special attack's not that great. And she gets walled really hard by Tinglu. Tinglu resists Electric, it resists Dark, neutral to Fire and Steel, but they're not her strongest moves. Here's some funny Death Rocket calcs. So Jinx, she picks up her rocket, she looks at the Smogon Council, she sees Finchinator up there, standing there, Landorus and Big Stall looking over his shoulder, and she fires, and the rocket flies into the council building, blows up the Tyrian Council. They walk in to find Landorus dead, they find Slowking dead, they find Great Tusk dead, but there are some suspicious survivors. It's almost as if there's a character who'll be showing up later in the video who has magical powers, who might be able to save some Pokemon from death by Death Rocket. So overall, I think that Jinx is a good Pokemon. She's kind of like Mega Jolteon. She's like Jolteon, but with way better moves. Jolteon and all the evolutions, really, just have terrible move pools. They're so narrow. Jinx is not narrow. Jinx can do all kinds of things. But where on the tier list will I rank her? If someone had a gun to your head and they said, either subscribe to Henry Kidd or comment on this video, I'd say comment, because that guy's probably going to shoot you anyway. And if you comment, you can at least prolong your life for the duration of the comments. So maybe if you leave a really long comment, the police will arrive. But maybe they won't and you will die. Anyway, Jinx. Which sister in the end are we going to rate higher? Well, I think Jinx is good. I think she's at least as good as Vi. Sure, her bulk is terrible, but her move pool is really interesting. She has a lot of multipliers. She's really fast, which is nice. And her typing is pretty good on an offensive Pokemon, especially with that coverage. And in fact, I think she's better than Vi. I think she's quite a lot better than Vi. I think that speed is really good. And there's a lot of lightning weaknesses in the tier. Sure, there's a lot of ground types, but you can hit most of them with Death Rocket and do a big chunk of damage. I do think she has counterplay. I do think she's a bit unreliable because of the low accuracy of all her moves. And obviously she's very, very squishy. So I don't think she's an S rank. I don't think that she is nearly as easy to slot onto a team as Tusk or Gambit. Is Jinx better than Iron Valiant? I don't know. Because on the one hand, Jinx did become an icon and a rebel hero for the people of Zaun. And she did liberate the people from the prison. And she did cause a lot of explosions and make a lot of cool gadgets. But on the other hand, Iron Valiant is a robot that can use booster energy and hit with both close combat and Moonblast. I think Jinx is better. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. Jinx is better than Iron Valiant. That's my final decision. Which means I think she's better than Vi.
I'm on the case.
Third. Our third Pokemon is Caitlyn. Caitlyn's stats are kind of similar to Jinx's, again, a mixed attacker. Her bulk is slightly better, 70, 70, 70, compared to Jinx's 60, 65, 85. And her attacking stats are a bit better, but her speed is significantly worse. 110 is a lot slower than 140 in this metagame. But looks okay. She has two interesting abilities. Sniper, obviously she has a sniper rifle. Pew pew, she goes. She has neutralizing gas because this video contains spoilers for Arcane Season 2. Because of her, I call it like a sort of offensive perfuming of the less privileged people who live beneath her city. That was a character moment for Caitlyn, wasn't it? Well, she has neutralizing gas. It's fine, but I think she's going to want Sniper. And it's because of her signature move, Hat Trick. Hat Trick is normal type Flower Trick. So if you know Meowscarada, Meowscarada is pretty good in OU. It's OU by usage, although it's one of the lowest on the tier list. It's ranked B, just because it doesn't do anything amazingly. But it's good. It's generally a good Pokemon, and Flower Trick is a big part of why. Flower Trick's really strong, 70 base power, but always crits, means that it's functionally 105 base power. It also bypasses defenses. It does mean it can't crit, because it always crits, so you can't go higher than the 105 base power. Thing is, on Caitlyn, it's way stronger than that, because she has Sniper. It has a base power of 157, which is crazy. That's stronger than Hyper Beam and Giga Impact. That's an amazing move. The problem for Caitlyn, the weird thing that she's going to have to deal with, is that she doesn't really get any other good physical moves that are worthwhile. She doesn't get close combat. She doesn't get like any fighting type coverage. All of the rest of her move kit is special. Now her special moves are pretty good. She gets Snipe Shot, she gets Aura Sphere, she gets Sludge Wave for coverage, she gets Vacuum Wave for priority. She also gets a few other moves. I think she gets Energy Ball and Flash Cannon, but they're all special, and her special attack is weaker than her physical attack, and she kind of wants physical investment because of Hat Trick. So EVing her is going to be this weird game of, I could just pump her Hat Trick, but what if they have a Ghost type? Like, what am I going to do? Or even a normal resist. Like, what if they have a Steel type, which they definitely will? Well, if they've got a Steel type, I'm going to need a special move. I'm going to need some coverage. But if I want that to do any damage, I have to drop speed EVs or drop attack EVs. It's weird. It's quite fun. Like, I think it's good design. It's interesting. But I don't know how to appraise it exactly. If we look at her stats, we can see that they are pretty similar to Meowscarada. Meowscarada is weaker on the physical and the special side, about the same bulk and a bit faster. And that's a good sign. Meowscarada is good. Caitlyn's definitely trying to do the same thing as Meowscarada. An even closer comparison is Lucario, whose stats look eerily similar. In fact, Caitlyn and Lucario have identical defensive stats, 70, 70, 70, and nearly identical offensive stats. Caitlyn's a bit better though. Caitlyn has more attack and 20 more base speed. Now Lucario's not that good. It's certainly not viable in OU, and its best set is Terra Normal Extreme Speed. Caitlyn doesn't get Extreme Speed, but she does get Hat Trick, which is a normal type move, and I suspect Terra Normal Hat Trick will be potentially her best set. She'll just say, screw coverage, I'm just going to Hat Trick things forever, because its base power is 157 effectively, and that's a lot of damage. So there are a lot of dark types in OU in Gen 9. It's a good season to be a dark type, and Caitlyn does ruin their lives. She beats Darkrai, she beats King Gambit. The other thing she can do is hit enemies that don't resist Hat Trick, even pretty bulky ones, with so much damage that they just die. So she can just shoot Landorus, she can shoot Primarina, and they just combust. And like, the Landorus is a physical wall. It should be able to stop Hat Trick, but it kind of can't. Partly because Hat Trick ignores the Intimidate drop. The thing that Caitlyn struggles with, though, is primarily the Ghost types. What does she even do against Golden Go? Ghost types are immune to Hat Trick, so she has to use special moves of her weaker special attack stat. They're also immune to her fighting type moves, so she can't use Stab at all. They resist Sludge Wave, which is one of her strongest coverage options, so she kind of has to use Snipe Shot. Snipe Shot's fine. Snipe Shot's a good move. It has a high crit rate, so sometimes it will do crazy damage with Sniper. It's not great. I mean, you're not happy about having to Snipe Shot Golden Go, especially with the EV game of having to drop attack EVs. Maybe you just go 252, 252, and special attack and speed, and then you go naive, nature, and you go like 4+ attack, and you just rely on the high base power of Hat Trick to kill things. I don't know, but it is awkward. Dragapult even resists Snipe Shot. Dragapult resists everything except for Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon's the only coverage Caitlyn has to hit Dragapult, but she's not happy about having to use non-stab Flash Cannon. There are also these Pokemon that can take a hat trick and kill her. So Clefable and Zamazenta don't like hat trick. It does a big chunk to them, but Clefable will kill with Moonblast. Zamazenta will kill with Body Press. So Caitlyn still loses the matchup. All in all, I think Caitlyn's a really interesting Pokemon, and I think she definitely has potential. I think it's going to come down to how bad the coverage situation is. Like whether someone can find a really optimized EV spread for her that meets all the damage requirements while not sacrificing too much on speed. If someone can find it, I can see her being a genuine threat. As for the tier list, Caitlyn is interesting. I don't think she's as good as Jinx. I don't think she's an A tier. I think that hat trick is really strong, but it's kind of one note. She reminds me a bit of Ursaluna, actually, where, like, Ursaluna also has a really strong move. 140 power Facade. It's kind of similar-ish to hat trick. Caitlyn's much faster, but much squishier. I think she's good, but the ghost type problem is a massive problem. At least Ursaluna has Stab Earthquake. Caitlyn fighting type Stab doesn't help. I think that I'm going to put her in C tier. She's better than these two. She will have a niche in OU. She's definitely OU usable, just for the big damage and the speed. I think she's going to struggle to make a meaningful mark on the tier. I think that there are just better Pokemon I want to be using. But I could be wrong on this one, actually. I might just be underestimating the power of Sniper Hat Trick. It's possible. Let me know in the comments. Back to the next character.
I did appreciate your warmth.
Oh, Maddie. I was a Maddie believer, you know. This video contains spoilers for ARCANE Season 2. So when I saw what she did in Act 3, I thought, oh no, I was wrong. Maddie's a horrible villain. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. Much like Caitlyn, the betrayal got me. And just as the betrayal ended quickly for Maddie, so too will it end quickly for Maddie's opponents, because her signature move is Headshot. Again, it's a Flower Trick. Alternative, this time a Dark-type one. Now, Dark-type Flower Trick sounds kind of crazy. At least with Hat Trick, Caitlyn's move, it wasn't super effective against anything. Headshot can hit really hard on things that are weak to Dark. The downside for Maddie is that she has much lower BST than Caitlyn. Comparatively, you can see she has 20 less in both offensive stats and 20 less speed, so 60 less BST overall. And that makes a massive difference. 90 base speed is really annoying because you're slightly too slow, you're speed tying with a bunch of stuff. And she still has the mid defensive stats. So we're not that happy about being Maddie. There's a few other changes. She gets Keen Eye rather than Neutralizing Gas, because I guess she didn't do any offensive perfuming, but she does still have both of her eyes. On her corpse, I suppose. Her corpse has both of her eyes, whereas Caitlyn has one eye, but is alive. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Her coverage is also slightly different. She doesn't get fighting type coverage, except Vacuum Wave. She doesn't get Aura Sphere. Instead, she gets Dark Pulse. Apart from that, it's basically the same, which are good. Trick and Nasty Plot are good moves. She can set up. Headshot's physical, so Nasty Plot doesn't work with it, but it's okay. They both get Focus Energy, so they can do that sniper thing, but is it really worth it when you can just click a move with a guaranteed crit rate without having to set up at all? Probably not. Typing-wise, she's pretty bland. Normal Dark is pretty bland. Now, you do beat some things, and it's interesting. Caitlyn was ruined by the ghosts. It hated Golden Go, it hated Dragapult. Maddie does well against them. Maddie can headshot them. Maddie clicks headshot, and Golden Go explodes. Petulant explodes, Dragapult explodes. Slowking Galar explodes. Anything that's weak to Dark will die to Maddie's headshot, if she can outspeed them and hit them with it, because it does do a lot of damage. It has that same 157 base power sniper feature, but this time it's super effective, so it's like 300 base power. It's crazy. The problem for Maddie is that U-turn is just everywhere, and it's not like she's getting chipped by it. It's like some of these U-turns OHKO her because she's so frail. She's not fast enough to outspeed everything. She gets one-shotted by everything. There's 1,000 fighting types. There's Great Tusk, there's Zamazenta. Maddie seems like a good lower tier Pokemon. Maybe she's even busted in UU. Like, I don't think you have to be that much weaker for Maddie to be good. But against the OU metagame, like, I don't really see it. Because look at this defensive problem. 101% minimum from Cinderace U-turn. Now, this is Libero. Cinderace is turning into a bug type to get a stab. But it just kills Maddie. Like, Maddie just loses. Maddie can't do anything at all to stop this. And then Iron Valiant. Close combat will send you to the astral plane and back. But even Vacuum Wave just kills Maddie. Iron Valiant just clicks Vacuum Wave and Maddie dies and it outspeeds Maddie. I think Maddie is interesting. But if I want like a sniper crit user, I'm picking Caitlyn. Or I'm picking Meowscarada. I'm not picking Maddie, I don't think, in OU. But maybe in UU. So, going over to the tier list, where do I actually place her? Maddie, I think, is bad. If not bad, then at least worse than Caitlyn. I think that Sniper plus Headshot is still a really good combo, but her stats are kind of terrible, and she doesn't inspire me. And also, she tried to murder Caitlyn after sleeping with her. So on those grounds, F for Maddie. She's probably actually a D. I think you could use her. But F for Maddie. F you, Maddie. Go away.
Right through their fingers. You must be part eel.
So we've gone over the primary trio of Caitlyn, Jinx, and Vi. That classic Piltover combo. And then we've seen Maddie as well, who I put next to Caitlyn because Maddie's kind of like Caitlyn, but worse. Now we're going to take a detour down to the lanes and the chasms of Zaun and meet some of the Kim Barons. Now the Kim Barons are coming in with lower BSTs than everyone else who has been added, but they have interesting things going on. They are all poison types, they have that in common, and they all have a signature move. So, we'll start with Smeech. Smeech is a monster. He is very scary. I was a bit surprised when I saw he wasn't a steel type, but I think what's happened is poison is like the Kim Baron type, and fairy is the Yordle type. Smeech is a Yordle. Heimerdinger later on, we'll see, is also a fairy type, also a Yordle. So they couldn't fit steel onto him. Nevertheless, his signature move is a steel type move. So if you want stab on it, you're going to have to Terra. And that signature move is Scrap Hacker. In short, Scrap Hacker is a steel type Fell Stinger. It's 50 base power, it's pretty weak, but if you kill something with it, you get a +3 to your attack. So if you can manage to get that kill, amazing. Like you get a crazy boost. But Fell Stinger doesn't see that much play, like it's a niche move. You can use it on some Pokemon as like a tech option, or like to surprise your opponent, but it's not like a mainstay. Now a Fell Stinger with a better offensive type than Bug maybe could actually be good. But Steel is not a better offensive type than Bug. It beats Fairies, which is good, but Steel is not renowned for being a major offensive threat. It's very rare that you ever see Steel-type coverage being a Pokemon's first option. Scrap Hacker without Stab, I don't think it's going to cut the mustard. It is coming off Smeech's really high attack stat, which is good, so maybe you can kill something with it. Thing is, attack is Smeech's only really good stat. His defenses are pretty bad. His speed is middling. You outspeed Maddie by 1 speed. Hooray. You probably kill her with Play Rough too. I think Smeech probably beats Maddie. You resist Headshot. But I don't think Maddie is making it into OU. And I probably don't think Smeech is either. But let's have a look at what else he can do. For abilities, he has Motor Drive and Hustle. Both of these are pretty good. Hustle is really annoying. It's strong, it's sometimes worth it, even though you miss 20% of the time. But the accuracy problem is really frustrating. And then Motor Drive is good. It's a free immunity to Electric. It's kind of a rare immunity to have on a Poison type, on a Fairy type. I think it's appreciated. And then Smeech's move pool's pretty good. Aside from Scrap Hacker, which maybe you don't even bring, you can run Knock Off and U-turn for like pivoting utility. With those two moves, usually you can do some kind of pivot with boots or with a choice item. You've got Trick, good for choice items. And you've got Autotomize. Autotomize is really good. Boost your attack, boost your speed. It's like a better Dragon Dance. And maybe Smeech has the stats for it. Like, they don't look that impressive right now, but after an Autotomize, he's really strong, and now he's really fast too. I can see him being scary with Autotomize. I think maybe a moveset of like Autotomize, Play Rough, Poison Jab, Knockoff is good. I don't see Scrap Hacker. I don't see it. Maybe someone in the comments, if you see the potential in Scrap Hacker, if you think I'm missing something, let me know. But I don't think Smeech is running it. Rivervroom makes for quite a nice comparison to Smeech. Rivervroom has a slightly higher BST and similarly distributed stats. Now Rivervroom is not great. It's okay. It's pretty good in lower tiers, and it's a fun Pokemon to use. But it's not OU caliber. It's not standing up to the really strong things. I think Poison Fairy maybe is a bit better than Steel Poison. Steel Poison is 4 times weak to ground, which is annoying. But it's kind of a side grade. I don't think Smeech is that much better than Rivervroom, if at all. Rivervroom also has Autotomize, and it also has pivoting. It can parting shot. I kind of think they might serve a similar role. They might actually be competing for a niche in the lower tiers. I don't really see either being that good in OU. Fizandipity is decent in OU. It's okay, it's finding a place. I don't think it's ranked OU by usage, but I think it does have some utility. And you can see that Fizandipity is kind of like Smeech, but better. But it does have almost 40 less attacking stat than Smeech. So they're not really doing the same thing. Fizandipity is more of like an annoying, trick your opponent, poison them with Toxic Chain kind of thing, whereas Smeech is trying to hit hard, probably with a Choice Band or a Autotomize. They do have the same type, and I feel like in most cases I'd rather put a Fizandipity on my team. It just is way more flexible. The most interesting thing I think about Smeech is that it resists both Dragon and Electric, which means it hard walls Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt usually only uses Dragon and Electric moves. Its typical moveset is like Draco Meteor, Thunderclap, Thunderbolt, Calm Mind. Can't hurt Smeech. Cannot touch Smeech. And Raging Bolt doesn't really have coverage to deal with Smeech. It can run Wither Ball if you're using it on Wither, but that doesn't seem that good. Like, you have to make sure the Wither is up and it's not that strong. Or it can run Terra Blast, but it usually likes to Terra Fairy to deal with mirror matchups and things trying to Draco Meteor it. And Smeech resists Fairy as well. So I think Smeech is just a really good Raging Bolt answer. I just don't think it's a really good answer to much else. So okay, Smeech, it beats Darkrai, it beats Raging Bolt. The problem is, it loses to like all kinds of things. It loses to any physical wall, because it doesn't have recovery and it isn't bulky at all. It loses to Steals. It can't really deal with Gliscor. It hates Moltres because of Flame Body. Yeah, it just gets shut down by way too many things. It hates being burned. If you burn Smeech, Smeech is just out of luck. I think that there probably isn't a place for Smeech in OU. But there are still interesting questions about maybe is there some niche for it? So, let us turn over to the tier list to find out where I rank it. Smeech to the Smeech list, to Smeech himself to the Smeechiest position he could Smeech. When he Smeeched, he Smeeched himself a Smeech. And I think he Smeeched all the way to D tier. I don't think he's very good. Yeah, I think it's interesting how he beats Raging Bolt, but I don't think he's very good. He's worse than Maddie. Yeah, he's probably worse than Maddie. I should put Maddie in D. I should put Smeech in... No. Why would I ever want to use Smeech? Also, go back to F, Maddie. You're not welcome in D tier. Come on. That's all I have to say about Smeech. He Smeeched himself into the Smeech tier, which is F.
It's only a matter of time before you implode, and Silco finally gets the message.
Sevika is the next Pokemon to consider. She is a poison fighting type, think Toxicroak, with bruiser stats and a move pool full of random chance. She has Motor Drive, like Smeech, which gives her that electric immunity, and she has Super Luck, so she can go for those crits, which is nice with Cross Poison for the high crit chance. And of course, she has her signature move, Beat the Odds. Now this one's a bit complex. I'll show you the thing and then I'll explain how it works in more detail. So it's an electric type move, which functions a bit like metronome. So Sevika will click Beat the Odds and then she'll call a random move. Rather than waggling a finger at the moon, like a metronome user, she'll use her robotic arm, which she uses to beat up Smeech in ARCANE. When I watched that scene in ARCANE, I couldn't remember who Smeech was, and so I didn't think much of Sevika, like, beating up Smeech with Jinx's help. But now, having played TFT, and having talked about Smeech just before, my brain is full of Smeech. I just think the word Smeech. He Smeech, Smeeched, Smeechily down the stairs. Smeech Smeeches all the Smeechy things. Unfortunately for Smeech, the Smeech became the Smeeched in his fight with Sevika because she beat the odds. So, Sevika rolls her slot machine, and her arm will randomly use either Flame Wheel, Bullet Punch, or Bite. The move hits 1 to 3 times. Each of the 3 times will separately roll Beat the Odds. For example, you could click Beat the Odds, and she would hit twice. The first hit would be a Flame Wheel, and the second hit would be a Bullet Punch. Or, you might hit 3 times with 2 bites and a Bullet Punch, or you might hit once and just do a Flame Wheel. It's wacky. It leads to scenarios where you can be up against a Pokemon that is weak to fire but resists steel and dark, so you need Flame Wheel, and then you need it to hit 3 times rather than 1. So you kind of have this range of like, I could do 1 hit of a resisted Bullet Punch, or 3 hits of a super effective Flame Wheel. And Flame Wheel is 60 base power, so it would be like, so the high roll is like 360 base power, and the low roll is Bullet Punch, which is resisted, so it's halved, so 20. So I have a range from 20 BP to 360 BP, and it's random, which is wacky. And then she has Super Luck, so each of the hits can crit with a higher ratio. It's crazy, and to be honest, I don't think Beat the Odds would be worth using if that was the end of the story. However, it works with loaded dice. If you run loaded dice, it always hits 3 times. You still can't control which of the moves it hits 3 times with, but that suddenly sounds good, because Bullet Punch is 40 base power, Bite and Flame Wheel are 60, which means that the minimum damage you can do with loaded dice Beat the Odds is 40 times 3, which is 120. And if you don't roll a Bullet Punch, if you get the 60 base power moves, you do 180. Now, none of them are stab, which is a bit annoying, but you can tear it into one of the types if you want. And they have useful things. Flame Wheel has a 10% chance to burn per hit, so if you roll a bunch of Flame Wheels, it's decent odds that one of them will burn. Bite has a 30% flinch chance, so if you roll well on bites, you can just flinch things forever. Now, Sevika's not that fast, so it's not very reliable, but she does get Autotomize, much like Smeech. And Bullet Punch is priority, so you could be in a situation where the opponent outspeeds you and you need to roll Bullet Punch 3 times to kill them, and you do, or you don't. The chance of getting a particular move that you need all 3 times is 1 in 27. If you do, jackpot, hooray. If you don't, sucks to suck. You should have prayed to the god of RNG before you used Sevika on your team. So yeah, I think that she probably does want Beat the Odds. I think that without Beat the Odds, she doesn't have that much going for her. Her stats are fine, but they're not that impressive. They kind of look like Vi's stats, if you remember Vi from earlier. Sevika is similar-ish to Mamoswine. She's strong, she's kind of bulky, and she's like moderately fast. However, there's a Pokemon that's much more similar to Sevika. Okidogi. Okidogi is the same type as Sevika, and it's kind of just her but better. It's stronger, it's faster, it has way higher defense, it has better special defense, it's even got better special attack. The only thing that it's worse than her in is HP, but because of the bulky stats, Okidogi's defense overall is kind of the same as Sevika's, and it's only a little bit weaker on the special side. In exchange, you get Toxic Chain, which is a pretty nice ability, and you get kind of all the same move options that Sevika gets, aside from Beat the Odds and Autotomize, both of which are good, don't get me wrong. But I think these two are definitely going to be competing for a niche. I think that they're probably really quite similar. It's tricky. There might be some disagreement. I don't know. You guys might see something that I don't see and think that one of the other is better. I think that Sevika's move pool is better than Okidogi's, but I think her stats are worse. Pod's down here. He's yawning. Yeah, hi. Abilities, both. Like, I like Toxic Chain on Okidogi, but I like Motor Drive on Sevika. It is nice. Super Luck's okay, but I think Motor Drive is probably better. I don't know. They feel too similar for me to like rule on one strongly. Unless Beat the Odds turns out to be crazy. It does seem good with loaded dice, but it's so unreliable. She can beat the fairies with Cross Poison, Stab Cross Poison. She can beat Kingambit and the steels that are weak to fighting. She can beat grass types like Ogerpon with Cross Poison too. And she beats Golden Go for a very funny reason. Normally you'd think Sevika would lose horribly to Golden Go, because Golden Go is immune to poison and fighting. Okidogi loses horribly to Golden Go. But Beat the Odds is kind of great, because Golden Go is weak to fire and dark. So 2 of the 3 options that Beat the Odds can pull, Golden Go is weak to. Bullet Punch is a bad roll against Golden Go, and there's always a chance of it. So you can click Loaded Dice Beat the Odds and not kill Golden Go. But as long as you hit 2 out of 3 of your moves, being Bite or Flame Wheel, you win. On the downside, though, there are some significant downsides. The 8 expletive crown types in Pokemon OU. Sevika hates them. She loses to Great Tusk pretty badly. She loses to Landorus pretty badly. She does not like being intimidated. She also loses to the psychic types. Any psychic type that can outspeed her, or take one of her hits and then hit her back, or just kill her. Now, she likes Terra. I think Sevika is a good Terra option, because she can sweep with Autotomize. She can Terra Dark. Terra Dark is quite nice because it makes you immune to the psychic type moves that would normally come your way, and it gives you stab on the bite component of Beat the Odds. I think she likes Terra Dark, but there's probably lots of options. And she loses to other physical walls like Alomomola, which just shrug off her damage. She would hate Amoonguss too if Sleep wasn't banned, but Amoonguss has fallen off since they banned Spore. Sevika is interesting. I think Sevika's design is really cool. It's hard to tell how good it is, but I think it's okay. I think it's pretty good. The stats are pretty good. She doesn't compete with Great Tusk for niche quite as much as Vi, but maybe she's also just a little bit worse than Vi. I kind of want to put her in B right behind Vi. Like, these two are pretty close, I think. Vi has a slightly better type and slightly better stats. I do think Vi is actually better. Maybe Sevika goes in C above Caitlyn. I'm going to revisit this at the end when I've done everybody and do some rearrangements. This is just because I already feel like something's a bit off here.
How about a drink?
Next, we have Singed. We saw in Arcane some of the atrocities he committed when he transformed Spoiler from Spoiler into Spoiler, and also transformed Spoiler into Spoiler with the blood of Spoiler. But the thing is, I don't think he's even gotten started yet. If we get a Noxus show in the future, oh, our friend Singed is going to... He's got a lot more horror to wreak yet upon the world of Arcane. And he has horror to wreak upon us Pokemon players too, because that stat spread sets off a little alarm bell in my head, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, he's a stall Pokemon. He's going to be really, really annoying, which is true to form, because in League of Legends, he's kind of a stall Pokemon. He just runs around, he proxy farms you behind your tower, and he's going to run away from you, so you're going to get poisoned if you run behind him, so it's not really worth chasing him. The old adage goes, don't chase Singed. But if you leave him alone, he's just going to proxy farm forever and take your towers, so you kind of have to deal with him. But then you start chasing him, and then meanwhile the enemy bot lane is pushing their lane, and he's just a nightmare. Nobody plays him. His player base is like 0% of the League of Legends population. But everyone that does play him is definitely a sociopath. And there's nothing wrong with being a sociopath. sociopathy is not the same thing as being evil. In terms of abilities, he's got Toxic Debris, like Glamora, so you hit him, he's going to throw some poison out behind him. He's got Runaway, he can run away. Not good in competitive. And he's got Power of Alchemy, which only really works in doubles. So in practice, he's going to be running Toxic Debris most of the time, but we've seen how good that is. I mean, it's great on Glamora. Now, looking at the stats, his offenses are garbage. Of course they're garbage. He's not going to be killing you with damaging moves. His defenses are... they're not amazing, they're fine. They're fine to good. 70, 110, 110 is nice. It's good defenses, but it's not like Toxapex level. It's not like I'm going to tank everything forever. Thing is though, 160 base speed is crazy. That's so fast. He's like getting up there with Ninjask fast. He's way faster than Dragapult. He's as fast as like Electrode. He's so fast. He's going to run away from you at Mach 10 and you won't be able to catch him. And that's kind of unprecedented on a bulky Pokemon. I'll show you the two Pokemon I found that were most useful comparisons, but neither of them are that close to Singed. The first one is Toxapex. Toxapex ends up being a bit bulkier, but Singed is not far behind on bulk. Singed is significantly weaker than Toxapex offensively, but Singed has 125 more base speed. Toxapex is slow, Singed is blazing fast. Toxapex also has Regenerator, which plays a massive part in how good it is, which Singed doesn't have. The actual closest comparison I could find was Bronzong, and it's still not that close. There's 127 speed between them, but their bulk is almost identical. If you can imagine a Bronzong, if you can imagine fighting a Bronzong and how hard it is to kill, Singed is going to be the same. And then Revival Blessing. Revival Blessing is one of these moves that everyone was hyping up, and that kind of never ended up being as good as people thought. Now, it's on two bad Pokemon, Pawmot and Rabska. I don't know if it's actually that great of a move. I think it's good, but it hasn't really found a role even in the lower tiers. But he can basically guarantee get it off before anyone can stop him, and he'll get free turns because he's bulky, and he can revive, and then he can Parting Shot. It's just another really annoying tool in his annoying toolset. Singed is going to be good basically on bulky offense teams that want to pivot and don't mind being passive. Like, Singed is passive, it's his problem. He can Toxic things, he can Seismic Toss, but he can't, like, kill a setup sweeper quickly. He has to take turns. Or stall. And stall is what I'm really worried about. I think that Singed is amazing on stall. Stall loves being able to generate Toxic Spikes with Toxic Debris forever. Glamora doesn't have longevity. It's not very bulky, it can't heal, it's going to die. Usually it's a suicide lead. Singed can just switch into physical attacks over and over and proc Toxic Debris. And Stall really likes that. He's got Toxic and Parting Shot, which are great for Stall. He's got Recover, which is really, really annoying on a Stall Pokemon. Like, can you imagine Leperberry Singed, and you've, like, finally killed their Blissey and their Toxapex, and then Singed comes in and just revives both of them? That sounds horrible. That sounds like a nightmare. He's got Knockoff, which is great for Stall. He's got Pivoting. I think he's just good. I think his typing is good. I don't know how good Stall is. Back when I last played, Stall was good but not the best. It's kind of like a team building check. You'll get free wins against opponents who haven't prepared for Stall, and you'll get auto losses against opponents who have good enough wall breakers. It's fine though. It's not the worst team style, but it's not the best. I don't think it's ever been the best in Generation 9. Singed would definitely improve it though. Defensively, you can see that it's a roll to kill with Headlong Rush from Great Tusk. So he's not like taking super effective hits amazingly. There are lots of good ground types in OU. There's Great Tusk, there's Landorus, there's Iron Treads. Singed doesn't like them. Singed does lose pretty badly to them. He also gets chunked neutrally, so like a neutral Dark Pulse from Darkrai does 39 to 46. He can recover that off, but Darkrai can keep clicking it, he can keep recovering. Eventually, he'll run out of PP, and if Darkrai nasty plots or has a choice specs, it'll 2-hit KO him, and now he's in a bit of trouble. So he's good, and he is still really good against setup sweepers because of his natural base speed and Parting Shot. So if something does a Swords Dance, he can come in, be faster than them, and parting shot out. He'll outspeed things like non-Jolly... He might even outspeed Jolly, but I don't know that for certain. But he'll outspeed slower DD Dragonites, which are a bit of a problem for him because they can DD and then they can Earthquake him. But he'll outspeed a DD Dragonite and he can parting shot it and lower its attack. And then go into something that beats it. Yeah, his bulk is not as good as some of the other stall Pokemon, but his utility and his annoyingness is near unrivaled. So, let's look at the tier list, shall we? Singed. Singed can go wherever he pleases. Classically, he runs up behind enemy lines and causes mayhem, and then when Arceus tries to kill him, he gets Arceus to chase him all the way down top lane until Arceus ends up down here in the waiting area, and then Singed runs back to top lane. He can't do that in this tier list because I'm in control of him. Though I think he's good, I think he's really annoying. There's a part of me that wants to say you need to ban him immediately. He's way too powerful, or at least way too annoying to ever be allowed to set foot in OU. The just continuous toxic debris, parting shots forever, pretty hard to kill, and will just make stall even more infuriating than it already is. If not also better. I think it'll make him better. I think he'll make it better, though I think there's a place for him on stall. I think stall wants what Singed can offer. My mind goes back to BKC. I hear the voice of BKC talking in my ear, and BKC is saying, Henry, stall Pokemon very rarely get banned. It's not usually the stall Pokemon that are the problem. It's usually the offensive threats that have no answer. And then BKC says, you remember Mega Sableye in Oras? I think it was Oras. That's what it takes to get banned as a stall Pokemon. You have to be so oppressive, so annoying, and deny so much counterplay to the opponent that you're deemed worthy of banning. Does Singed do that? Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't think he's quite bulky enough. I think that... I don't know, he's really good. But... yeah, I think he's better than Vi. I want to say he's better than Jinx. I'm at least, if I see Singed on a team, I'm more worried about it than I am about Jinx. I'm immediately like, oh my god, this battle's gonna suck. There's just way too much to deal with. I think he makes a whole archetype better. He makes stall better. And maybe he even makes like bulky balance better. He's a great pivot. Yeah, I want to put him in S. Below Kingambit and Task. Low S, but S. I think he's that good.
Real power doesn't come to those who are born strongest.
As the saying goes, we're out of the frying pan, and we're into the noxious poisonous gas. Next up, we have Silco. Rest in peace, Silco. This video contains spoilers for ARCANE Season 2. Please go watch ARCANE Season 2 instead of watching this video. He makes some appearances in Flashback. We get not only light form Silco, but also medium Silco in flashbacks. It's pretty nice. You really do sympathize with Silco. In Season 1, he seemed like this villainous, horrible guy, but when you rewatch Season 1, he doesn't seem so evil, he just seems more like troubled and ruthless. I don't know, I kind of respect him. I'm not going to say he was like a good father figure to Jinx, but he did like be her father figure when there was no one else to do it. And they seem to have some kind of genuine messed up relationship. But then they were both messed up people. They were very similar. I mean, I guess I feel sorry for Silco in the same way I feel sorry for Jinx. In Pokemon, I don't really feel sorry for him. I feel afraid of him. He has interesting stats. BST 520, not very high, like all the Kimbarons. Weaker than our protagonists. Certainly weaker than any of the greater beings in the universe. But they're okay. He's got really high special attack and special defense. I was feeling quite confused about how to analyze these stats until I looked at Darkrai. It's also a dark type, like Silco, and they have very, very similar coverage options. Silco gets Flamethrower, which Darkrai doesn't get. Darkrai gets Ice Beam, which Silco doesn't get. Apart from that, it's near identical. They're very, very similar offensively. And so if you know your Darkrai calcs, you kind of already know your Silco calcs too, except you get Stab, Sludge Bomb, which is good. A Pokemon that is more similar to Silco, stats-wise, is Primarina. Like Silco, its best stats are Special Attack and Special Defense. It's got about the same speed and it's similar bulk, kind of variations on a theme with these two. And Primarina's good. Primarina is good in OU. Primarina is one of the better starters. It's partly the typing that makes it really good, but the bulk is great. Like Assault Vest Primarina is a great special wall. So Silco should be happy to have stats like Primarina, I think. It's perfectly usable. And Poison Dark is a good typing. So that combined with decent move pool, nasty plot, Revival Blessing if he wants it, would make Silco a good Pokemon. The thing that might make him a crazy Pokemon is his signature move, Shimmer. When you use Shimmer, you switch out. It's kind of like Teleport or Baton Pass or Chilly Reception. It's a pivot move, status pivot move. The unique effect of Shimmer is that whoever switches in is poisoned, but their attack goes up by 2 stages, which is quite hard to evaluate. Being poisoned obviously is not good, but getting a free Swords Dance is great. There are a few caveats. If you switch into a Steel or Poison type, or anything else with poison immunity, they won't get poisoned, obviously, but they also won't get the attack boost. So you only get the attack boost if the poison is successful. You can, however, switch into something that gets poisoned and then cures it. So you can't switch into Metagross and boost its attack, but you can switch into Lumberry Dragonite, because the Dragonite will get poisoned, Shimmer will activate, double its attack, and then the Lumberry will cure the status. And in fact, I think Lumberry Dragonite is one of Silco's better partners. So as a Pokemon on its own, Silco's, I think, good, but not crazy good. Maybe it would have a niche in OU, I don't think it would be meta-defining. It may be crazily broken, though, and if it is, it's because of Shimmer. Matchup-wise, in general, you do well against special attackers and poorly against physical attackers. You do especially well against fairies like Clefable and Hatterene, and ghost types like Golden Go and Pecharunt. You also kind of wall Meowscarada. You don't like taking a triple axle as Silco, but you can barely take one and then kill back with Sludge Bomb. It's a tenuous win, the Meowscarada one, but it is a win, just barely. In exchange, you basically just lose to the grounds. There are other losses as well, but it's mostly the grounds that you have to worry about. The thing is, you lose pretty badly to the grounds. Gliscor ruins your life. Iron Treads is immune to your Sludge Bombs, it resists Psyshock, it's immune to Thunderbolt. You can hit it with a super effective Flamethrower if you predict right. And Dark Pulse is okay, but it's not great. And then Great Tusk resists both of your stab options. And your only super effective coverage move is Psyshock. You don't even have Psychic, you've only got Psyshock. Which means if you want to hit Great Tusk super effectively, you have to hit it in the defense stat and not the special defense stat. Which is bad, because Great Tusk has much better defense than special defense. Lando, similarly, really annoying. But it's mostly the ground types. At this point, I'll talk about the abilities. I've kind of glazed over the abilities. It has 2, Analytic and Poison Puppeteer. The thing is, Poison Puppeteer is pretty bad, because it activates on Shimmer. I don't know if they had to hard code it to work on Shimmer, because I feel like sometimes these abilities don't work on, like, pivoting. I'm thinking of how Psychic Noise doesn't stop Regenerator, because the Pokemon's switched out. But if you run Poison Puppeteer, you will confuse your own shimmered Pokemon. So I think usually you want Analytic. Now if you're not running Shimmer, Poison Puppeteer is not bad. You can run Toxic and Poison Puppeteer. That's okay. It's annoying. But I think usually if you're using Silco, you're using Shimmer. Unless Shimmer gets banned. It's like a Shed Tail situation. Shimmer's deemed the problem and is banned. Thing is, there's no other Pokemon with Shimmer, and usually the OU Council likes to ban Pokemon if they're the only Pokemon that know the move. It's why Houndstone was banned for knowing Last Respects until Basculegion came out, and then they could ban Last Respects and let Houndstone back in, and Houndstone is now unusable, but that's not Houndstone's fault. But anyway, Analytic's good. Analytic means your Psyshock will 2-hit KO Great Tusk. Without Analytic it doesn't quite, but with Analytic it definitely does. and it means your Sludge Bomb will OHKO Clefable. You have to underspeed the Clefable, and Clefable isn't very fast, but you're also slow, so you can definitely underspeed it. And if you do underspeed it, then you one-shot it, and that's nice. The thing is, I think that Silco's damage calcs only tell part of the story. Because at first when I thought of Shimmer, I was thinking, okay, we're going to go to a sweeper, we're going to say go to Roaring Moon, right? And Roaring Moon is going to get +2 attack, and it's going to be poisoned. And they can have a choice band, and they'll have +2 attack, and they'll do heaps of damage, but they're on a timer, and my opponent has counterplay, right? They can protect, they can switch well, and the Roaring Moon will get worn down. Eventually it can be finished off with a priority move. That's kind of the most innocent case of Shimmer, though. I think that's pretty good. I think that on a hyper offense team, you usually take that bargain, right? Like, it's kind of like Life Orb. Life Orb does 10% of your health when you attack for a 30% power boost. Shimmer does 12% of your health, 12.5% of your health, which is not that much more, for a doubling of your attack. That seems really good. That seems like a good investment. And it can be a slow pivot to get your sweepers in for free. I think Shimmer's really good. Okay, so there's the Roaring Moon scenario. Slightly stronger, I think, is something like Lumberry, Terra Normal, Extreme Speed, Dragonite, where you come in, you Lumberry away the poison, you Extreme Speed things. You can even run Roost in that case, and you're not poisoned. You've healed it off. That sounds really scary. But then think about the Guts Pokemon, right? Guts Pokemon will run Flame Orb, an item which burns them intentionally, just to get the boost from Guts, just to get a 50% boost. With Shimmer, say you have, for example, Ursaluna, and you click Shimmer. You dose your bear up with purple juice, with Shimmer, and you double its attack, which goes from monstrous to absolutely galactically monstrous. You poison it, but that's good because it activates Guts. It wants to be poisoned. Its attack goes to super galactically mega ultra massive, and you free up Ursaluna's item slot to run a different item. You can run Choice Band, and that sounds bad, right? Choice Band, Swords Dance, Guts boosted Facade from Ursaluna? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be legal. I'm sure that one-shots everything. Now, there's counterplay because it is really slow. You can kill it. But that just sounds like too many multipliers. That sounds like that's one-shotting, like, double resists. I don't think that sounds balanced. Is Gliscor. Oh my god, this thing. Gliscor currently runs the Swords Dance Facade set. You run Toxic Orb, you get the poison healing, you Swords Dance up, you hit with really strong facades. Imagine that Gliscor, but it can run leftovers. Poison Heal already means that Gliscor heals twice as much as it would with leftovers, and Gliscor is happy to run Toxic Orb. Now it can get Poison Heal and leftover recovery. You will gain more health than you lost from clicking Substitute. You go Protect, Substitute, Protect, Substitute. Every time you do that, your opponent can't stop you because both moves block attacks. Every time you do that, you gain a free 12.5% of your health for nothing. You lose nothing unless your opponent has Encore or they have a sound move that bypasses Substitute. That sounds insane. Or you could give your Gliscor a Choice Band and use Choice Band +2 Facade. You could give it a Life Orb. You could give it Boots and give it even more longevity. You can give it anything. Gliscor wants to be poisoned. Gliscor wants to be shimmered. It's all upside for Gliscor. Do I have to say any more? Let's just go to the tier list, huh? This is Editing Room Henry here. I'm going to do the Silco tier list because the main recording has my neighbors using a piece of heavy machinery which is very loud and will hurt your brain immensely. I think it's pretty clear, but it's worth talking about. I think that Silco as a Pokemon by himself is fine but not great. Maybe he'd still have a niche in OU because Poison Dark's pretty good and his stats are okay, and with an Assault Vest he's pretty specially bulky, he's got good coverage, maybe C or B. But if he's allowed in a tier where Gliscor is amazing, and a tier where Ursaluna is legal, then either we have to ban Gliscor, or we have to ban Silco. I think that Silco and Gliscor cannot be allowed to exist in the same tier at the same time. They would be way, way too warping. You'd have these turn 1s where your opponent leads Silco, and you know they're going to shimmer to Gliscor. But what do you do about it? You can't hit the Gliscor on the switch because Silco is slow. The only real counterplay is something really slow with an Ice-type move. But that doesn't really exist. Like, if they go min-speed Silco, you can't use your strong Ice-types. You can't use Kyurem to hit the Gliscor, because you would just hit the Silco with his really high special defense. Gliscor will come in and Terra Normal, so it's not weak to Ice anymore. And I think that if that's the choice, Silco has to go. We don't want to just start banning all these Pokemon because they synergize with one crazy move. We should just cut the problem off at the source. I think Silco's banned to Ubers. I don't think he's that great in Ubers, though, because there aren't many Ubers caliber Pokemon that benefit from status in the same way. It's still going to be Gliscor and Ursaluna that you're running, but they now are competing with a much, much higher power level. He might actually be kind of balanced in Ubers. He might be interesting. So that's it. Silco is banned. I think he's the best Pokemon so far, but there are more to come. We now move out of the Undercity, out of the Kimbarons, and up into the academies of Piltover, where we deal with the scientists of the show.
It's not how much time you have. It's how you use it.
Ekko. Ekko is maybe my favorite character. I think Ekko just has a really interesting story arc. I like the watch aesthetic. I like his flying around. And he's fun in League of Legends. He's one of my most played champions. I really like the time rewind mechanic because it does kind of make your opponent suffer immensely when you undo all the progress that they made upon you. In Pokemon, Ekko is a pretty standard physical attacker. 125 speed, 115 attack is good. Bulk is okay with 100 base HP. It's not too bad. The problem is going to be his moves, because flying and electric aren't known for reliable physical attacks. Flying, if you're a bird, you get Brave Bird, and then you can count yourself lucky. Ekko's not a bird. He doesn't get Brave Bird. He gets Aerial Ace, which he can boost with his ability Technician. That's as good as it's going to get. I think either you run Technician Aerial Ace, or you just skip Flying Stab. For electric, he gets Supercell Slam, which is the new move. It's kind of like, it's worse than High Jump Kick. It's like normal Jump Kick, medium height Jump Kick. But it's okay. I mean, it's 100 base power, 95 accuracy. It's not bad. The downside's annoying, where if you miss, you die. He gets Flare Blitz, which is good. His move pool is a bit shallow, though you wish he had more. Utility-wise, he gets Recover and Swords Dance, both of which are really nice. He appreciates the healing. He appreciates coming in and out of battle. With Boots and Recover, I mean, you kind of work like a budget. Zapdos, you're a bit less bulky, but do the same thing. And then SD lets you get these sweeps. I think most Echoes are going to be running SD, just because this Pokemon is really geared towards being an offensive sweeper. If you're not running Technician, if you're forgoing Flying Stab, you basically have to rely on just Electric and Fire, Supercell Slam and Flare Blitz, both of which are dodgy. Surge Surfer and Quark Drive are both... The Quark Drive Booster Energy set is probably pretty good. I don't think this will make Electric Terrain viable. Pincurchin is way too terrible for Electric Terrain to be saved by Ekko. He's just kind of like another Quark Drive Pokemon. He's even lower BST than the other Quark Drive Pokemon. But the Booster Energy is good, and you can choose to boost attack or speed based on your EVs, which is nice. He gets very fast with Booster Energy. He's outspeeding most of the metagame with the speed boost. I don't know. I think you either run Technician plus Heavy Duty Boots, or you run Quark Drive and Booster Energy and you resign yourself to taking hazard damage. In terms of comparisons, Thundurus has the same attack stat, exactly, way more special attack, and slightly less speed. So they're both these kind of fast, electric flying type attackers. He's also quite similar to Tapu Koko. Different type, electric fairy rather than flying for Tapu Koko. But he's kind of like a worse Tapu Koko in terms of stats. Electric Flying is a really good type. If Zapdos wasn't around, if Thundurus wasn't around, Ekko might be who you go to. Because they are around, Ekko's kind of playing third wheel. Or that's what I would say if Ekko didn't learn Rewind. Rewind is really interesting. What it does, in simple terms, is roll back the turn count to the moment Ekko enters the battlefield. So that could be one turn if Ekko entered the battlefield, then immediately clicks Rewind. Or it could be ages if Ekko spends 5 turns click and recover and swords dance and hitting things and then rewinds. It's a hard move to gauge. You can only use it once in the whole game, so you got to make your moment count. The immediate thing I think of is you send an Ekko. His moveset is Supercell Slam, Flare Blitz, Swords Dance, Rewind. You click SD, you try to do the sweep. Maybe you can't do it, like your opponent has counterplay that you didn't expect. Maybe they bring out a weird tech option that you now know about, that you didn't know about before. Maybe you miss Supercell Slam and take the recoil. As long as you can manage to rewind, like get a turn to click rewind, you can return to that position, you've gained information, and you can not go for the sweep. And maybe you go for that sweep and you just win the game because actually the sweep worked and it would have been too risky to go for without the ability to rewind. Thing is, rewind does take up a move slot. You can only use it once. Once you've used it, it's kind of dead. I don't know, but it kind of makes sense with booster energy. Like, booster energy also only activates once per game, so you just go all in on this thing. You can even just use it to, like, undo a bad crit or re-roll your own crit to play for these odds. I don't think it's busted. I think if it rolled back other Pokemon's actions, you know, you could switch Ekko in, rewind, and then go back to before Ekko came in, it would be crazy because I'm sure there are ways to abuse that. If you could access chance options on other Pokemon. If you could, like, click an Oko move, or click some really, really high variance thing, and then go to Ekko, and then rewind, and then click Fissure again. And Fissure's banned, but anything that's really high variance and could win you the game, or lose you the game based on the outcome. He does learn Hypnosis, and that probably would be part of the strategy, but Hypnosis is banned, because sleep moves are banned in OU now. So, that's okay. So, how does Ekko match up? Well, he breaks through the water and flying type defensive Pokemon in the tier, which is quite good because water and flying are two of the most common defensive pivot wall things. Again, you struggle against the ground types, and you also struggle against the dragons. Because you don't have very good flying type moves, you have to use Air Release Technician. You have fire and electric as your main attacks, and Dragon resists both of those. So it's really, really hard for you to beat Roaring Moon, and Raging Bolt just ruins your life. It resists Air Release too. The only move Ekko has to hit Raging Bolt neutrally is Double Edge, and Double Edge is not great because it doesn't hit anything super effectively. So yeah, I do think Ekko has problems. The fact that it gets shut down by Raging Bolt and it gets shut down by walls like Garg and Tenglu, it can't break through things very accurately. All of its moves have downsides, Flare Blitz, Recoil, Supercell Slam missing. It's kind of an unreliable sweeper. But you do get 2 shots at an unreliable sweep, which makes it twice as reliable as it would otherwise be. You have the same defensive profile as like a Caitlyn, except with 30 more base HP, which is significant. So you're not quite as frail as a lot of the other set-up offensive sweepers I've talked about in this video, but you're not exactly, like, blissy over there either. So Ekko is good, and the move is really interesting, but I think he has problems. We'll go to the tier list and figure out where I will rank him. Ekko is really cool. I was worried when I first read his ability that it would be totally busted, and I just have to say he's banned, but I actually think it's okay. I think it's kind of balanced. It might not even be that good. You're spending a move slot on a move you can only click once in the whole battle. That might not even do anything meaningful. And if you're in a bad situation when you want to rewind, you still have to be able to actually cast the move. If they kill you before you can cast it, then it didn't do anything. So I don't think it's bannable. I think it's kind of balanced, and I like that, because I like Ekko. I think he's good, but not great. But Rewind is cool. His ability is good, Cork Drive is good, and he's got good stats overall. Yeah, I like him. I don't think he's oppressive. I think he can deal with a lot of the defensive Pokemon in the tier. He's got offensive checks. I think he's just balanced. And I don't think being balanced makes you an AOS tier Pokemon. I think it makes you honest, and maybe he's a little more than honest with Rewind, but I think he's more honest than you'd expect. He just gets to be honest twice instead of once in battle. So I'm putting him top of B. Better than Vi, worse than Jinx.
I fight for a brighter tomorrow.
At last, we make it to Jayce. Jayce is the final protagonist character that we'll talk about. After this, there are going to be 5 legendary characters, 5 legendary Pokemon. They have really high base stat totals. They're all pretty crazy in their own way. But we're not quite there yet. We got to go through Jayce. And he, like our other protagonists, has a BST of 550. Now, there are 2 things that set Jayce apart. The first is his typing, electric fighting. You'll be noticing a theme throughout this video. There's a lot of typing similarities between the Arcane characters. We've seen heaps of fighting types, heaps of steel types, heaps of electric types, heaps of poison types. We haven't seen any grass or ground or ice or any of these, or water. That's to be expected. It's Piltover, City of Progress. We shouldn't be surprised that it's electric and steel and poison that are coming out on top. But Jayce is continuing the trend. Electric fighting, first electric fighting type in the game because they didn't do it with Electivire, and then they weren't willing to commit with Zero Aura. But they are with Jayce. Finally, at long last we have an electric fighting type. I've listed both his physical and special moves because he has 2 forms. The first is his hammer form, which he'll start the battle in. And that has these stats over here. They're pretty strong. You can see it's slow, bad special attack, really good bulk, 110, 105, 105, and good attack. Then Jayce has his signature move, you see it up there, Stance Change. It is a electric type special move with 100 base power, 100 accuracy, which switches the user to cannon form before Jayce attacks. So, okay, great, he's going to switch to cannon form. What does that mean? What does cannon form look like? Here are the stats for cannon form. You can see HP stays the same, attack and special attacks swap, and then he loses 30 base points from each of his defenses and gains 60 in speed. So he's now fast, but he's frail, and he's a special attacker. And he does this before he attacks, so you will probably go second, you'll take the hit in the hammer form, and then you'll switch to cannon form and do a big special hit. So he's actually quite similar to Aegislash. Aegislash has high in both attack stats in its sword form, and then high in both defenses in its shield form. But the same kind of idea, and it's the same thing you do with Aegislash, where you want to change into your squishier form after you've taken the hit in your more tanky form. And Jayce is set up to do that pretty well. You switch to cannon form, and then Stance Change switches to, it becomes Stance Change Hammer, which is a 100 base power physical fighting type move, which will switch you to hammer form before you attack. And this is where the crux of Jayce comes in. You can just build a hammer form build. You don't even have to run Stance Change. Just go hammer form. You can run Stance Change, switch to special, and then have 3 special attacks and do special. Or you can try to do mixed. And they've been quite clever in incentivizing mixed because Jayce does not learn any special fighting type moves or physical electric type moves. If you want to use your electric type stab, you have to be in cannon form. If you want to use your fighting type stab, you have to be in hammer form. So you're going to have to make this decision of which Jayce do I want, or do I want to try to build for both? The thing with Jayce is that the matchups he has in hammer form are very different to his matchups in cannon form because of the difference in coverage he has available. So we'll look at them each in turn. In hammer form, Jayce does really well against steel types because he has close combat, big damage, and he's very, very bulky. You can take a hit. Even an earthquake, something like an iron trees he can take. He's got really good bulk. And he even beats the other ground types. He beats Gliscor and Lando because he gets Ice Hammer, and Ice Hammer one-shots them, and he doesn't get one-shotted by them. He still loses to Great Tusk because Ice Hammer is not 4 times effective, and Great Tusk can 2-shot Jayce with Earthquake. And then he loses to physical walls. He loses to Corviknight pretty badly because he can't hit them with an electric move. He doesn't have one. He loses to Clefable because he has to use Wood Hammer or Ice Hammer to hit it, and neither of those are great. And then he also gets checked by fast, strong offensive things. So Iron Crown kills him with psychic damage. Enamorous kills him with fairy type damage. He does have his problems. But overall, he's pretty good. When you switch to cannon form, the story changes quite a lot. In cannon form, he hard loses to the ground types that he can beat in Hammer form. He also loses to King Gambit now that he can't click a fighting move against it. It's just not so pretty for Jayce. In exchange, though, you pick up wins against all of the physical walls that give Hammer form Jayce issue. So you beat Corviknight and Dondozo and Alomomola with Thunderbolt, because you now have electric type coverage. It feels to me like the best set is going to be mixed with stance change, but then you run into this problem of how do I EV this guy, which 4 moves do I click if I'm going to be sometimes physical and sometimes special. I think Jayce is a really interesting team building problem that I don't really know the answer to. I don't think his abilities move the needle very much. He doesn't have much that benefits from Technician. You can run Shockwave, but like it's kind of worse than Thunderbolt, except it never misses. He doesn't get classic Technician moves like Bullet Seed, he doesn't get Bite. I think Technician's mostly there for flavor. Kind of like Roserade. Like Roserade has Technician, but it doesn't really like Technician because it doesn't get many moves that are boosted by it. Anger Point's kind of a gimmick. It's unreliable in singles. You can do it with... It's good with guaranteed crit moves in doubles, but I'm talking about this from a singles perspective. And so he's probably running Justified. Justified is good. It's fine. It gives him free attack boost against dark type moves. Justified is just something that Pokemon are happy to have, but it doesn't make them behemoths by itself. So let's have a look at the calcs between Hammer and Cannon form. In Hammer form, Jayce can kill King Gambit 1,000 times over, but it struggles to break through Dondozo even with a super effective hit. Whereas, in Cannon form, suddenly you kind of lose to King Gambit because you do less than half its health. But in exchange, you now two-shot Dondozo. We can see a similar thing defensively. In Hammer form, you can take an Earthquake. It won't be pretty, you'll lose most of your health, but you can do it. And you can take a +2 Sucker Punch from King Gambit just fine. On average, it's a 3-hit KO. When you switch to Cannon, those calcs get a bit worse. Earthquake becomes an almost guaranteed kill, and Sucker Punch is a 2-hit KO, guaranteed 2-hit KO. So you really do feel that 30 defense loss. So that's Jayce. He's quite tricky to analyze because of the form switching and the moves, and it's complex. I don't know if I have a very good bead on him, so take my tier list ranking with a pinch of salt. Okay, next is Jayce. Jayce is really, really hard to place, because I think either of the forms in isolation would be like a B tier Pokemon. They're both good, but they both have these really meaningful weaknesses. They can't hit one of their 2 stab types, they get shut down by different things, the Cannon form is squishy, the Hammer form is slow, they both have counterplay. The question is, does being able to switch between them push them up to A or S, or make them ban-worthy? It did for Aegislash. Aegislash is ban-worthy because it could switch between its 2 forms really efficiently. Jayce is more awkward because you have to click the specific move. It's not just a kind of move, so you have to run it. And it's switching your attacking stats. So you have like horrible 4 move slot syndrome. Like, you run 2 special attacks, 2 physical attacks. It's kind of the only way to be good in both forms. Yeah, I'm not certain on Jayce. I want to put him in A, I think. I think that the mixed attacking set is better than just focusing on one or the other. By a bit. I think he's worse than Jinx, but better. I think he's worse than Jinx. I think he's worse than Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant kind of do what Jayce does without the hassle of the form changing. Yeah, I'll put him up here with Iron Valiant. I think they're quite similar. We've made it to the end of the standard Pokemon. Up next are the legendaries. As you can see, there are 5 of them. And anyone who's seen Arcane can probably tell that 3 of these characters are not being displayed in their final form. I wanted to do it this way in case there's anyone who's made it this far and still hasn't seen Arcane. If you haven't seen Arcane, because the spoilers are about to become really, really intense and will give away the whole season. If you have seen Arcane, you know what's coming. I'm going to go to bed and wake up tomorrow to record the legendary part of this. So I'll see you in a fresh scene with fresh eyes and perhaps some fresh faces too on the screen. Good night, everybody.
Indeed, a wise choice.
Here is our first legendary. It's Heimerdinger. He is an ancient yordle from the days of yore, back when magic fought freely over the lands and rolled over the hills and destroyed everything it touched or something. And he has a BST of 580, which is relatively tame. That is the same as the Tapus, for example. It's not, I'm Dialga. It's, I'm part of probably a group of legendaries, and we're all pretty strong, but we're not like box art legendaries. And we'll be allowed in VGC. We're not restricted legendaries. Heimerdinger is a bit like Silco, if you remember. His best stats are special attack and special defense. He's very bad HP, very bad attack, but unlike Silco, his defense and speed are passable. He has two abilities, Technician and Pixelate, and I think that the best comparisons for Heimerdinger are the other Pixelate users. So he's an Electric Fairy, but if we look at Sylveon, their stats are pretty similar. Obviously, slightly different type, but pretty similar overall. I mean, Heimerdinger is better. Heimerdinger has 55 extra base stats compared to Sylveon. A really close comparison is actually Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir has the same identical special attack and special defense as Heimerdinger. I think that Mega Gardevoir, just on stats, is a little better than Heimerdinger, but Heimerdinger gets an item slot. Mega Gardevoir has to hold a Mega Stone for its item. Heimerdinger can run a Choice Specs, or a Choice Scarf, or a Leftovers. And so I think all in all, Heimerdinger is a stronger Pokemon than Mega Gardevoir. And Mega Gardevoir isn't legal except in Nat decks. And in Nat decks, there's so much competition for the Mega slot that I think you'd almost always prefer to have Heimerdinger on your team. If you've played with Mega Gardevoir before, Heimerdinger is going to do a similar thing. It does have a little bit of extra flavor. He does have a signature move, Hextech Swarm, which is just a lightning type special Bullet Seed. It's pretty straightforward. Hits 2 to 5 times, 25 PP, boosted by Technician, is nice. It's not like Ekko's Rewind or Silco's Shimmer where there's a bunch of complexity, it's just electric type Bullet Seed. In terms of matchups, it's got a lot of winning matchups against OU. It beats all of those water and flying type walls that were beaten by Jayce. Heimerdinger beats them even better. It beats fighters like Zamazenta, it beats dark types like Darkrai, it beats the dragons, Kyurem, Roaring Moon, Dragapult. It's really good. It has a few weaknesses, again to the ground types. It can't really get through Landorus, and especially Iron Treads. Iron Treads immune to electric, resists fairy, resist flash cannon, best Heimerdinger can do with Energy Ball. Non-stab, not that strong. Slowking Galar is also pretty good against Heimerdinger. It's neutral to Hextech Swarm and it takes a chunk, but it can come in, click Sludge Bomb, regenerate off. It's pretty good. And then Iron Moth offensively does deal with Heimerdinger. Here are some calcs. You can see we Oko Golden Go with Hextech Swarm if we hit 4 times. We can run loaded dice to guarantee we hit 4 times. Or we can run Choice Specs and kill it by hitting it 3 times. Both of those are fine. Energy Ball into Iron Treads is a 2-hit KO almost all of the time, which is wonderful because Iron Treads is like the best defensive check the tier has on offer, and it still dies in 2 hits. Heimerdinger looks a bit crazy. Heimerdinger also has Calm Mind, and it has its choice of healing moves, Synthesis and Recover. So it can come in against something that it beats, click Calm Mind, and then do damage, heal off. Yeah, it's got low base HP, but the defenses can make up for it. And if you put all your EVs into HP, you can compensate quite well for a low HP. So, I think Heimerdinger is pretty good. The question for us is it ban-worthy? It's definitely OU viable. It's really, really good. Is it ban-worthy? Let's find out. And there they are, in all their glory, the true forms of Mel, Vander, and Viktor. We're in the big leagues. We have 5 legendaries to put on the tier list. Now, Heimerdinger, of course, is first up. And Heimerdinger is good. Really good. The question, I think, is whether he's banned or not. And, I mean, he has a lot going for him. He has crazy high special attack. He's got a good move pool, good coverage. But the physical bulk and the weakness to ground, in particular, does let him down. because there's so many ground types in OU. I think that there's a case for banning him. I want to believe that with all the power creep this generation, there is a place for a Pokemon like Heimerdinger. I don't think that Electric Fairy is an absolutely busted typing. It's good, but I don't think it's insane. Like, he loses to Great Tusk unless he invests all in speed, but if he doesn't invest in HP, he's really squishy, really physically weak. He'll get killed by like a Meowscarada Flower Trick. I think that because every team has a Great Tusk, every team also has counterplay against Heimerdinger. You don't have to slot anything new onto your team. You can just hit them with your ground type. Every team in OU basically has a ground type. Having said that, he's very, very strong, and if I'm wrong, if I'm undervaluing him, it wouldn't surprise me that much. But I'm going to put him up here in S. He doesn't do roll compression as well as Great Tusk, but the thing he does do, that heavy-hitting, calm-minding thing, he's unparalleled. So, high S. He's going to be meta-defining. He may push Raging Bolt out of the meta. I think he's kind of like a better Raging Bolt without priority. Thunder, and he hard counters Raging Bolt because he's immune to Dragon Resist Electric. Raging Bolt is not looking so hot with Heimerdinger in the meta, which does make you think maybe Heimerdinger needs to be banned. But I do think that the same counterplay that works on Raging Bolt also works on Heimerdinger, and Raging Bolt is okay. It's really good, but it's not on people's radar for suspecting at the moment. So yeah, I'm putting Heimerdinger high S. Really amazing Pokemon.
A wolf has no mercy.
We're nearing the end. You can tell we're nearing the end because we're pulling in Ambessa herself. In Season 2, she's definitely the major antagonist. There's kind of the human antagonist, and there's the arcane antagonist. And we'll get to the arcane antagonist. This video contains spoilers for Arcane Season 2. I mean, there's so much to like here. The stats look great, I think. If you remember Vi from the beginning of the video, this is like Vi, but just better. She has 140 attack, same as Vi. Way better bulk, who cares about the special attack? A bit faster. Just really good all around. Abilities, amazing. All three are really good. Sheer Force is great, but I don't think Ambessa has the right coverage for it, really. Intimidate's great. She'll be an absolute monster in VGC. And she is legal in VGC. She's not a restricted. She's only 580 BST. She's just really well distributed. Maybe in VGC she's running Intimidate, but I think in singles, 9 times out of 10 it's Supreme Overlord. Insane with a Pokemon with these base stats. At least Kingambit, for all of its strengths, has the glaring weakness to fighting. Ambessa is just a mono fighting type. No quadruple weaknesses to Psychic and Flying, which aren't that common. And she has the move pool to back it up. Close Combat is really strong. Sucker Punch, as we've seen with Kingambit, works amazingly well with Supreme Overlord. Triple Axle is great. Outrage is great. Victory Dance is mental. Victory Dance is absolutely cracked. I think that probably giving Ambessa Victory Dance was a mistake. I think if you want my secret opinion, I know we've got a tier list to deal with. If you want my secret opinion, I think she's banned. I don't think you can let something with these stats and Victory Dance and that coverage into OU. It's just going to terrorize. But okay. Let's do our due diligence. Let's go through the rigmarole of what's going on. Shall we see what her matchups are like? Oh, that's pleasant. Look at all those Pokemon she beats. That's like most of them. It's looking awfully crowded in Ambessa's corner in terms of what she wins. What does she lose to? Well, there's 4. There's 4 Pokemon she loses to. She loses to the Fast Fairies, Iron Valiant, and Enamorous. She loses to Iron Crown, Fast Psychic type. And she loses to Moltres. Moltres is kind of the only defensive check, because Ambessa doesn't have anything to hit it super effectively. It resists close combat, and if Ambessa tries to triple axle, it's risking Flame Body Burns. It's going to have 3 tries at Flame Body Burn. But Moltres is still not ironclad. Ambessa can still break through it because she's so powerful. And she can Victory Dance. She can even No Retreat. I haven't really talked about it because I think Victory Dance is basically better. But No Retreat is insane. You just boost all your stats, Omni Boost, you can't switch out, but who cares, you're Ambessa. Here's Machamp. You can see Machamp is worse than Ambessa in every way, except special attack, the thing that Machamp is terrible at. So if you want to see power creep in action, this is power creep. Ambessa is just better than Machamp. I don't think there could be any tier where Ambessa is legal and anyone would bother with Machamp at all. Ambessa's just basically strictly better. Annihilate is still weaker than Ambessa. It has significantly less attack, less bulk overall, the same speed and special attack. Now Annihilate is an Uber, but it's not really an Uber for its stats. It's an Uber for Rage Fist. Rage Fist is just insane. It's a good thing Ambessa doesn't get Rage Fist, but there isn't much of a question anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter. Ambessa is crazy. She's going to force Machamp and Conkeldurr into obscurity forever. Her biggest competition in OU is Zamazenta. Zamazenta has things going for it. It's also got crazy stats. It has that free defense boost from Dauntless Shield and Body Press, and it's even faster than Ambessa. But Ambessa has Victory Dance, Supreme Overlord. This thing is better than Zamazenta, I'm pretty sure. It has to be banned. I think she's way too strong. She might even be good in Ubers, just because she's bulky enough to get off a Victory Dance, or a No Retreat. Yeah, I think she's just really, really strong. So let's go to the tier list, shall we? Make this one quick. And she has the moveset to capitalize on getting that crazy boost. I think she's good. I think she's better than Volcarona. If you thought Volcarona with Quiver Dance plus Terra was crazy, Ambessa with Victory Dance, and then she can Terra into something as well, absolutely ridiculous. Probably actually good in Ubers. Don't know if she's as good as Arceus, like a proper Uber, but certainly too strong for OU. I don't think there's much doubt. If you think there is much doubt, let me know if I'm overvaluing her, but I don't think I am. I think she's just really strong. And Zamazenta is like the third most used Pokemon in OU right now. So Ambessa, who I think is kind of a better Zamazenta, has to be insane.
I wanted to protect the city from people like you.
Okay, you've survived all of my spoiler warnings. If you're still here, that's on you. Mel, who has acquired her Ascended Magic. She is a powerful mage, she's been corrupted by some evil organization, and she's killed her mother. And she can kill her mother in Pokemon too, because she's a Psychic type, and Ambessa is a Fighting type. And so she can click Psychic and beat Ambessa, which is nice, lore-friendly stuff. She's very, very bulky. 82 HP is fine, and her defenses are amazing. She's got great special attack and okay speed. She has Friend Guard, which is great in doubles. I mean, Eevee like Clefairy has a niche because of Friend Guard. Mel would absolutely have a niche. Thing is, Mel is a mythical Pokemon, you can tell from the 600 BST, so she isn't actually legal in any official format. She's like a Meloetta, a Victini, a Genesect. You're never allowed to bring her, which is a shame. But also maybe it's not a shame, because I think a Pokemon with these stats in Friend Guard would just be obnoxious to deal with in a double battle format. In singles, while we're very interested in Magic Guard is good. She's like a mythical version of Clefable. And her unique hidden ability, Conduit, is also pretty good. Here it is. Your use of Aurora Veil, Light Screen, and Reflect last 8 turns instead of 5. So it's like Clay, but an ability instead of an item. And that's kind of cool. You can run Mel, and run screens, and then still run leftovers or an offensive item. Amazing. Interesting. I don't really think it's better than Magic Guard. I think Magic Guard is probably what you want. But if you want a screen setter who doesn't have to give up an item slot to set screens, Mel is a good option. She has an interesting move pool. It's not the greatest move pool, and she's a mono Psychic type, so she's only getting stab on Psychic. She has Focus Blast, which is good but really unreliable. And then for coverage, she has Power Gem and Parabolic Charge, neither of which are commonly used coverage moves. I do like Parabolic Charge for her, because she's pretty bulky and the healing will be impactful. But yeah, I think she wants to be a kind of special wall / screen setter / I don't know, I feel like you could put an assault vest on her. Assault vest with magic guard. And those 4 moves. And you hit pretty hard with 122 special attack. I don't know, that seems strong. But even though she has a higher BST than Ambessa, I don't think she's quite so obviously overpowered. She's still really good. I think she would have a place. But the alarm, but I'm not like, oh my god, we have to ban her straight away. Maybe it's like Chien Pao. Like you trial her for like a week. Oh, Chien Pao kind of stayed. It's like Ursulina Blood Moon. You trial her in OU for like a week and you're like, oh no, this thing has to go. In terms of matchups though, she is good. Like she beats a lot of things. She has more losing matchups than Ambessa. She loses to strong physical breakers, so Rillaboom and Roaring Moon are what come to mind, especially Roaring Moon, with Booster Energy or Dragon Dance. Those knockoffs are doing a massive chunk of Mel's health. She also loses to other dark types, Darkrai, Meowscarada, that can outspeed her, do big damage, and then I think the best check to her is probably Golden Go. Golden Go resists Psychic, it's immune to Focus Blast, resists Power Gem. The only neutral move she has is Parabolic Charge, but it's pretty weak. And Golden Go can hit back with Shadow Ball. So, yeah, I don't know. And then the winning matchups she has are... she'll win, like she'll take a hit, kill them, but she'll be reduced to really low health. And she doesn't have Recover. She only has Life Dew. And Life Dew is 25% healing. Good in doubles because it heals your ally, but we're not playing doubles. In singles, it's just half a recover, and that's not really enough. She's prone to getting like worn down, like because she's slow. She'll take a hit, kill, and then get killed. Her stats are similar to Florge's, except better in every way. The only way she's worse is attack, but that doesn't matter for either of the Pokemon. A better comparison might be Lugia. Lugia is better than Mel in every way except special attack. It's even bulkier, it's way faster, its attack is way better, but it is significantly weaker. Those 90-90 offenses are kind of Lugia's Achilles heel, it's just so passive. Mel has Magic Guard, but Lugia has Multi-Scale, both of which are good. Lugia also has Roost, which makes it way more reliable as a wall. And when you put it in perspective like this, it makes you wonder if Mel is maybe okay. Because there's been talk about Lugia dropping to OU. I don't think it would last. I think people would realize pretty quick that it's way too crazy. But Lugia's not that good in Ubers. I don't know. It's interesting. Let's go to the tier list, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Mel is really strong. If she didn't have Magic Guard, if it was just Friend Guard and her hidden ability Conduit, there would actually be a case for putting her in S tier, because the ability's not that strong. Like, you're just a light clay user who can hold an item. That's good, but it's not meta breaking. Her defensive typing's really bad. I think if you compare Mel to Clefable, she has much better stats. She's stronger and bulkier, but she has a much worse defensive typing, worse coverage, no stealth rocks, no access to reliable recovery. Those are a lot of downsides compared to Clefable. All she really has is stats. But she can Terra, and Terra looks pretty strong on her. But Magic Guard is just such a dumb ability, and usually all the Pokemon that get Magic Guard are really weak, statistically. I mean, Alakazam has okay stats, but it's really, really frail. And Reuniclus is surprisingly frail, and Clefable is really low BST, but Magic Guard makes it good, actually good. I think it would just push Mel over the edge with these stats. So I'm going to put her in S. I think she's better than Silco, better than Volcarona, but she's probably not. She probably doesn't have a niche in Ubers, because you have to Terra her to get a good defensive typing. If she was like a Fairy type or a Steel type, then she'd probably just be good enough for Ubers. But Psychic is so bad at the moment. Like, it's all downside. Weak to U-turn, weak to Dark type moves, weak to Ghost type moves. Like, it's pretty rough. But she does have great bulk, great defensive stats. I just would probably rather have Lugia in Ubers, and Lugia's not good in Ubers. But I don't know. Am I overvaluing Mal? I think Magic... I'm only putting her in ban for Magic Guard. But I think Magic Guard is a good reason to ban something with that BST.
Blood runs. They all run.
Look what they've done to Vander. That some might say he's been vandalized. Vandalized. Yeah? No? Maybe? No, maybe not. Vander has been purified. Vander has been made glorious. He's been imbued by this pristine power. He is a normal dragon type. He has a full metal body. You can't lower his stats. He's too perfect. He has 600 BST, so only pseudo-legendary stats, but min-max to the moon and back. Look at that 10 special attack. Isn't that cheeky? If he had 100 special attack, he'd be a box art legendary. He would have 690 BST, be stronger than a box art legendary, and his power level will be exactly the same as it is right here. You know, no real weaknesses at all to be seen. Coupled with a great moveset, he's got Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza. He must have made a deal with Rayquaza. I don't know how he managed it. He's got normal type extreme speed, which is really, really powerful, and he can Terra normal to get even stronger. He's got Outrage, he's got Psychic Fans for coverage. The only problem with Vander's moveset is he doesn't have a move that hits steel types. All of his moves are resisted. How does he match up into OU? Well, he destroys almost everything. I mean, there's always some Pokemon in the new games that you just gotta ban, right? That are just too strong. And this guy's an Uber. The real interesting question is Vander good in Uber? And I'm thinking as I go that I may have to do a follow-up video which is ranking the Arcane characters in Scarlet Violet Ubers, because that sounds really interesting to me. That's like a different puzzle. I'll have to play some Ubers games to come to grips with what the tier is like. I haven't played much of it. But I think I'll do that and then try to put out a sequel video, because, okay, we're going to ban Vander. Spoilers, we're going to ban Vander. I mean, this is way too strong. His bad matchups are just to the steals, because you can't hit them with anything super effective. Corviknight in particular is a massive problem. You can get, with a Rocky Helmet, Corviknight can withstand Vander's assault and body press him back. It almost makes you think maybe Vander's balanced, until you remember that there's Terra in the tier. And with Terra, Vander can mitigate every single one of his steel-type problems. You can Terra Fire and just one-shot the steel-type. You can just one-shot Corviknight if you want with Terra Fire after a Dragon Dance. Or you can Terra Ghost, which is only neutrally effective, but also lets you hit Ghost types super effectively if you're doing an extreme speed thing, which I think you might be doing, because when you look at Vander's stats, you realize this guy's basically Arceus without the special attack stat. They're almost identical. He has 10 less in each of the bulk stats, HP, defense, special defense, 10 more in speed and attack, and then 110 less in special attack, but who cares? E-Killer at home? E-Killer, but better? I don't even know if Vander's worse than Arceus. He might be better. And extreme speed E-Killer Arceus is classically amazing. I don't know off the top of my head if it's really good right now, but it's a great set. You just boost your extreme speed and then kill everything. Arceus does get Shadow Claw to hit the ghosts. Vander would have to hit them neutrally with Dragon Stab or Terra to get a ghost type or dark type move. Do you think Vander or E-Killer Arceus is better? I don't know how to analyze it. What I do know is that Vander cannot be allowed in OU, right? Vander became so perfect, so sublime, which is good, because in the middle of the season he was having a rough time. He was feeling a bit hungry, a bit thirsty for blood or something else red, maybe cranberry juice. But it was okay, because Viktor found him and made him pristine. So, where does Vander rate in Pokemon OU? Or Ubers, obviously. I think Vander is maybe as good as E-Killer Arceus. I think they're like kind of really similar Pokemon. So the real question is, do I think Warwick Vander is better than Ambessa? Yeah, I do. He has 10 less attack, but he's stronger in every other regard. Faster, bulkier. He has extreme speed, he's got Dragon Dance. Ambessa has Victory Dance, which is better than Dragon Dance. Ambessa is a step up from Mel, and I think Vander is a step up from Ambessa. Which is nice to see, I suppose. Because we don't want the Noxians taking over, and we like Vander. He was a good family man, a good father, and a good warrior for the Hive Mind.
Join the glorious evolution.
And finally, at long last, we have Viktor. Viktor is an absolute icon. I would join Viktor's glorious evolution. I would let him cradle my head gently in his palm and show me things in my mind that I never thought possible. I want Viktor to take me into his world and make me his own forevermore. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to be a Pokemon. And in Pokemon, he's just as ascended a being with all possibilities at his disposal as he is in Arcane at the end. I don't have a time travel device. I don't have a rune given to me by past Viktor. So I cannot stop this Viktor from existing. What I can tell you right now is there's no way in heck he is going to make it into the OU tier in Pokemon. He is getting banned way before he ever comes out on console. Should we look at what he does for fun, though? Because we all love Viktor, and it's nice to see an old friend. So, one thing he does, he has all these signature moves. Look up there. He has Spatial Rend, Recreate, Astral Barrage, Psystrike. I mean, he's got, everybody's power. Palkia, Victini, Calyrex, Shadow, Mewtwo, he can do it all. He also has Revival Blessing, which is pretty strong on a guy with his stats. And he has a signature move, Chaos Storm. Chaos Storm is a 110 base power move, so very, very powerful. It always hits, no accuracy check, you just get hit by it. And the target always becomes infatuated. So usually, infatuation only affects targets of the opposite gender. You see it most commonly with Cute Charm and Amorous, where you hit it with a male Pokemon, and then the Pokemon is infatuated sometimes, and then it can miss its attack. Well, with Viktor, everyone gets infatuated. Doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter what kind of creature you are, you're going to fall in love. You're going to want to be part of the glorious evolution. And that means you have a 50% chance of missing every single one of your attacks, which is pretty bad for everyone else, but pretty great for Viktor. And the love doesn't stop there. He also has a signature ability, Glorious Evolution, where when Viktor KOs a Pokemon, he adds a copy of the Pokemon he KO'd to his team at half health. It only activates once, but that's pretty good. You can kill your opponent's legendary. Say you come in on their Koraidon, and they switch out to something to beat you, but what's going to beat you? So they have to sack something. So maybe they sack their Calyrex Shadow, and then you get a Calyrex Shadow on your team. It's at half health, but it's a free extra Pokemon. I think that's pretty good. I would classify that as rather nice. Here are the matchups. I wouldn't worry too much, shall we say? I wouldn't worry too much about Viktor in OU. I think he'll probably be okay. I think that if you're in OU and you see a Viktor, I would recommend running, but that won't save you because Viktor sees all. So maybe I'd recommend hiding, but that won't save you because Viktor knows where you are. So as a backup last resort, what I recommend is wholeheartedly bowing before him and joining his glorious cause. And that will work for you because Viktor will make you whole and make you better than you ever thought you could be. He's a lot like Dialga in that way. He's like a form of Dialga that trades a bit of defense for a bit more special attack and a bit of attack for 30 extra HP, but very, very similar stat line to Dialga. Same special defense, same speed. He's even closer in similarity to Kyurem White. Kyurem White is slightly stronger, it's got a slightly higher VST, but that's going into attack and speed, and it's actually slightly less bulky. Same special attack. I think that... And Kyurem White is crazy. Kyurem White's a crazy Pokemon. It's an Uber, and it's an Ice type. And Ice is pretty bad defensively. Ice has a lot of problems. Steel, pretty great defensively. I would rather be Viktor than Kyurem, and that's not even to mention all of the signature moves he gets, and the ability. The question we should be asking ourselves is, do we need to ban him to AG? Do we need to put him up there with Zacian and, well, Zacian's allowed now, but back unnerfed Zacian and Mega Rayquaza, and now Miraidon, I think, is an AG. Do we need to put Viktor up there too? Maybe. If I do another video... Hi Pod, wanna come up? Yeah. Hi. Hi. Pod wants me to do a follow-up Uber's video. I think I do want to do a follow-up Uber's video. But let me know if it's something you're interested in seeing. If it's not something you're interested in, that's all good. I don't want to belabor this any longer than I need to, because it is kind of cheesy. You know, it's a bit like, I worry a bit, having recorded most of this, that it's a bit fan servicey. It's like, oh, you know, this media franchise, this other media franchise. It's a bit kind of derivative. But having said that, I'm actually really enjoying it, because it's been really interesting to think about these different designs. So I would quite happily do another Uber's video if there's interest from basically anybody. If there's like one person who's like, I want to see an Uber's video, that's enough. I'll make you happy, one Uber's person, and do it. If there's nobody, if it's a ghost town, I might still do it for the ghosts, because I do respect the ghosts, even though I know they can't talk. And yeah, but we'll see. Maybe I'll fall in a well instead. Here are some calcs from Viktor. Here's a Viktor one-shotting Great Tusk with Chaos Storm, which would summon a Great Tusk to Viktor's team. Here's him one-shotting Kingambit with Recreate, which would summon a Kingambit to Viktor's team. Here's him one-shotting Golden Go with Astral Barrage, summoning a Golden Go to Viktor's team. And here's him one-shotting Raging Bolt with Spatial Rend, summoning a Raging Bolt to his team. These 4 Pokemon are the top 4 Pokemon in OU by usage, and Viktor OHKOs all of them. Yeah, he outspeeds them too. So I think that Viktor might be okay. I think he might be kind of good. I will see you in the last bit of the tier list. The Herald of the Arcane himself, Viktor. If you've made it this far, you're okay with Arcane spoilers. So can I just soliloquize for a moment about how wonderful Viktor is? I was rooting for Viktor the whole time. Even when he was turning very evil, I was still rooting for him. He's really, really compelling. I like Franz Kafka a lot, and Viktor is very Kafkaesque. Not in terms of, you know, being a commentary on the mundanity of absurdity, but instead in terms of being a frail Eastern European. I think that Viktor's character arc is really interesting. I think that the time travel stuff was good. It wasn't too overbearing on the show, but it all wrapped everything up. It was satisfying to see that Viktor did succeed and then realized the error of his ways and then went back, because I was worried the show was going to end without Viktor achieving his goal, and I kind of wanted him to. But no, he does, in the alternate timeline, and then he gives the runes to Jayce and fixes his mistake. That's all wonderful. I like his relationship with Jayce. I like his relationship with the Hex Core. I like how much he was trying to help people. And yeah, he's just really, really compelling as a character. Him and Ekko are, and Powder. Him, Ekko, and Powder are S tier in my rate these characters tier list. What about in Pokemon, though? Is Viktor legal in OU? Could Viktor maybe come head-to-head with the Rotom Wash and have it be balanced? No shot. There's no way. Viktor is way too strong. Is it as good as Silco and Volcarona? No, it's way, way stronger. Is he stronger than Ambessa? Yeah, way stronger than Ambessa. Is he stronger than Arceus and Vander? I mean, there's some discussion, because these guys do something that Viktor can't do. But he's ridiculous. I don't even know how to evaluate the ability. It's the kind of ability that looks like it would be absolutely busted. My instinct is that it's slightly worse than it looks on paper. And I mostly say that because Revival Blessing is slightly worse than it looks on paper. But this is like a Revival Blessing that you get to cast for free without using a turn or a move slot. And then he has a crazy move pool, crazy stats, good signature move. I think Infatuation is a mechanic that is only okay because Attract is bad. There's no hitting yourself, but it's 50%. It's like unnerved Confusion from the olden days. That's just so annoying if Viktor can infatuate you. Like he's infatuated me, IRL. That's just so annoying. I think the question is, does this thing go to AG? And I think there's a case that you'd have to ban it from Ubers because it would be too strong. The Glorious Evolution resummoning your opponent's threat is really swingy and just gross. And both teams would have a Viktor, so you both kill something and then get it. I think it would be really unhealthy for the metagame and probably ban-worthy. But I haven't played very much Scarlet Violet Ubers, and I think I'll need to do that to comment on the tier, because I don't really know how the games play out. I know it's pretty offensive. I know that Miraidon recently got banned. Beyond that, yeah, no, I've only played a few games. So, I don't know for certain that Viktor is ban-worthy. I know Dialga's not very good, and Viktor is similar to Dialga in stats, but he's way better in move pool and ability. Dialga weeps with pressure as its best ability when Viktor has Glorious Evolution. He's just really good. Definitely the strongest Pokemon we've talked about today, and in contention for the strongest Pokemon, period. I think it's disgusting that he's allowed to exist, but he does. He's just that good. So, that's my final tier list. And the only question is, do I want to rearrange anybody? I think I should move Maddie up to D. I think that Sniper Headshot is actually good. It's at least, it should be enough to give her a niche. I don't think it's enough to make her usable. Like, I don't think these D-tier Pokemon are really usable, but I think it is something you can build around if you really want to. I think Smeech is fine. I think Caitlyn is better than Sevika. I think they're both C rank, though. There's a case to be made for putting Caitlyn in B, because she is good. She does do a lot of damage with Hat Trick. It makes me think of, like, Mousehold, right? Mousehold also has a really high base power, normal type attack. Mousehold is not that good. They're both fast, both frail. Yeah, I think I'm happy with C. High C for Caitlyn. Vi and Ekko in B. Yeah, Vi is, like, being pushed down by Great Tusk, but I think that's fine. Ekko seems fine. Jayce, I have no idea how to evaluate. Jayce is confusing. More than any of the other characters, I can't really wrap my head around what battling with Jayce actually looks like. I think he's good, but I don't really want to move him any higher because I can't really understand. So I'm happy with Jayce. I'm also happy with Jinx. Singed, I kind of want to move Singed down to A. Mostly because I think either he's so disgusting that he gets banned to Ubers up here with Silco, or he's not that disgusting and he just becomes like a reliable pivot like Galarian Slowking. And he makes Stall gross. And I don't think that's the kind of Pokemon that usually gets an S rank. I think that's either A, like Premier Defensive Wall, or banned. I think if Singed is S, people will hate him so much that he'll lose the suspect test and get banned. So I'm going to move him down to the top of A. Is he better than Jinx? Is Singed better than Jinx? I think he is not. I'll put him down here. I think Jinx is slightly better, but Singed maybe is more abusable. I'm unsure about Singed. I'll stick with this as my final decision, and we can find out if I'm wrong once these go live. If anybody disagrees, please comment to tell me actually Singed is busted, actually is unviable. I welcome all the opinions. That's part of the fun of these things. Then up in S we've got Heimerdinger. I think he is good but counterable. I like it. And to be honest, I kind of want to move Mel down to S. This might be my most controversial take. This might be a bit of hopium, where like my mind says Mel's broken, you have to ban her. Magic Guard on those stats is way too crazy. But my heart says, wouldn't it be nice if Mel was usable? I don't know, like Jayce's defense is bad, Jayce's speed is allowed. Those Pokemon are kind of bad because of their typing, and they have crazy stats. They don't have Magic Guard, though. But I kind of want to move Mel down to S. I think maybe she's good, and she seems fun. Objectively, she probably should be banned, but I want to believe that maybe a meta game exists for Mel. Silco, I think you have to ban just because of what he enables. I don't think people want to ban Gliscor and Ursaluna and Conkeldurr and every other future Pokemon that can abuse Silco's Shimmer. It's not really Silco himself being that strong, it's just his move is too crazy, and unless they start distributing Shimmer everywhere, Silco has to take the hit for the move. And then Ambessa and Vander, very happy with the placement. I think that's fine. And then Viktor, I'm also very happy. So this is my final tier list for ARCANE. So, my answer to the title of this video is Mel. Mel is the strongest in Pokemon OU because we don't have to ban her, but she's really, really good. And Smeech is the worst. Smeech is the worst character in Pokemon OU. I guess the pre-evolutions of some of these Pokemon would be worse. Like Eviolite Powder, Eviolite Violet, and Eviolite Little Man are all pretty bad. They don't have the stats, they don't have the move pool. They are much weaker than their evolved counterparts. So they would be down in F2 with Kricketune, but I haven't ranked them because there's not much point. I don't have much to say on them aside from evolve them and get access to their actual kit. So that's the tier list. Thank you everybody for watching. I welcome responses. If anyone wants to make a tier list of their own using these characters, particularly if you know anything about VGC and you want to rank them in VGC, I would be fascinated. Obviously, Viktor is a restricted, Vander and Mel are mythicals, so they won't be legal either, but the rest of them would be legal in a standard format, and I think we're going into Regulation G, which is a restricted format, so you would be able to bring Viktor. If you know more, if you want to try to evaluate these Pokemon in VGC, feel free. I mean, I don't own the rights to these things, and I would love to see your takes. Otherwise, thank you for watching. And yeah, wasn't ARCANE Season 2 amazing? What a great show. I'm looking forward to whatever they make next. See ya.